Everybody, this is just a quick video showing you who's going at each position in these rookie mock drafts. If you think you know who's going to go at this position, leave a comment down below. Who do you think it's going to be? And see if any of my guests who've been on agree with you. And before we get into it, hey, hit that like, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. We're on a march towards, 500 subscribers. I'd love to be able to do it before we get into this season of football. That'd be awesome. So help me out and let's go. Let's see who's going at one time. We got 2 picks left then, Dave. Who's your penultimate guy in this first round?
So this is my pronunciation. I should know now because you watch the draft and I've been on some shows now where I've talked about him, but I don't know. Devin Achane, I think is how it's pronounced.
Yeah, I've heard Achane, I've heard Achane, I've heard a lot. I would. Well, it reminds me of if I ask people, you watch that show, The Boys, the Amazon show, The Boys. Like Atrian, I'm like Achane. I kind of like, and they're both like really fast, so I'm like, okay, I'll roll with that.
Yeah, so I like that. So, and what's really weird to me about this whole process for this class is that, like I said, that process where I like my bigger running backs who have this touch threshold, who can also catch passes. That's how I usually approach running back position. But this was a different class. This was just a totally different class where you had some COVID stuff going on, so some players were a little bit older too, as because of the COVID rules and how many games were played, like seasons were messed up. And so there's just a lot. This is just we're entering a little bit more of a unique too. And also college football is changing a lot as how the running backs are being treated. So there's just a lot of new things that are happening in college football. So you have to take that into account when you're approaching these players. And that's what I really tried to be open and think critically when I was talking about Jahmyr Gibbs and my evaluating him. And I did the same thing to Achane. Usually I would have just laughed at people and saying, you told me 188 pounds or whatever he was. And that's what, bulked up for him is bulked up 188 and blah, blah, blah. And, and laugh them out of the park. It's like, that's just someone I'm not going to, because I really want to invest in that volume floor. That's what I'm looking for, is that volume floor and running backs. And then Achane, when you think of a smaller player, usually those type of players are more shifty. They can move side to side. They make guys miss. I think Tariq Cohen, the joystick type thing. You don't necessarily see that with Achane. He's more of just a get and go guy who's just going to beat with pure speed. Actually, it's kind of refreshing. You don't see that running style very often. It's someone who's just I'm going to beat you. You have to account for my speed, and that's going to give me big chunk plays. But I also can run in between the tackles decently, despite my size. And while he still did pass or had a lot of catches, I don't think he was he's not the type of, you think, a small running back, well, they're going to go out in the slot and run all these really crisp route runner and have a better ADOT. Now, that necessarily wasn't the case with Achane. But that being said, he still has the ability to at least functionally use his hands to catch the football. And then I think the big thing, first off, pat me on the back because I haven't mentioned landing spot with him yet, because that's what I think usually what everyone's going to say first. But then we throw in landing spot in Miami and how they like to use their speed at the running back position. And if that offense hits like it did when Tua was really firing last season, there's a lot of upside here. So like I said, while I'm poo-pooing a little bit the second half of this first round, there is still some upside here, and it's some excitement here at that, with that possibility. And I think some people have Achane as their RB3. So I think that's what you're seeing a lot because of the landing spot. They're pushing with their RB3. I still think who's the running back there? I know there's
Mostert. Raheem Mostert's there. Jeff Wilson is there.
Jeff Wilson,
right?
Yeah, Jeffrey Wilson. I still think Jeffrey Wilson's going to get a lot of work as handling a lot of the non-sexy touches, but as a high value touch guy, it'd be exciting to see. Now, I don't think Achane's really a goal line guy because of his size, but to get him some high value touches could be exciting here. So there's a lot of stories or narratives that you can paint yourself to how he can succeed. Now, there's also ways that you can to see where he's getting 4 or 5 touches a game, and he's got to break the big play to really matter for your fantasy team. So I think it's a high volatile pick, but the upside is there, and I think that's why I'm comfortable taking here at 111.
I just can't wait to see, because there will be a point at some stage, and I'd love to hear the opposition coach mic'd up for this, but the Dolphins at one stage will have Devin Achane and Raheem Mostert like lined up behind Tua with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle like on either side, and they're just going to be like, what are we going to, like, someone's going to get the ball here that's faster than everyone else on this field. Like, what are we going to do? I can't wait to see like how they're going to get around that and the mechanics of that.
Yeah, it's exciting. Like, this is what you want to see. This is what makes fantasy fun, is that, and I think he's a fun player to invest in. And I really, I like the speed is fun. Speed is something that I do not have. And so when I do see it, it's fun to watch.
yeah, absolutely. I'm in the same boat as you, Dave. They're absolutely so.
Yeah, so again, I'm sticking at the running back position, and I feel like a lot of people won't agree with this. I know I've had people say to me when I posted my rankings that they wouldn't touch this guy at this point, but I'm still confident in Zach Charbonnet at the 111 at the running back, being the running back for. I mean, I know, the landing spot is not great. You're going in alongside of Kenneth Walker, who looked brilliant for a large part of last year with the Seahawks, but he's got that solid draft capital. He was selected in the second round of the NFL draft. That can only be a positive and show how much Pete Carroll wanted to get Zach Charbonnet in. We know how much the Seahawks love to run the ball. I feel like the Seahawks saw that the struggles that they had when Kenneth Walker went down last year at the running back position, how they had no real depth there, and this year they've still got no real depth. So I felt like this was always a need for them. I think in the NFL draft, maybe it was a little bit earlier than what we thought, but I mean, Pete Carroll, he loves a running back. So yeah, seeing him go there, the landing spot isn't great on the face of it, but I do think he's going to be put into a role straight away with Kenneth Walker. I feel like from what I've seen Pete Carroll say about him after the NFL draft is they like what he offers. He can be used in the receiving game. He can be used as a runner as well. So I feel like Charbonnet's got a real chance at fighting for that receiving down work in this offense. And if anything, it's more a negative for Kenneth Walker. I think that the NFL draft and what's happened and the selection of Charbonnet, I feel like he's now lost that locked-in workhorse role that he had last year, and I feel like this could be a split. I still think that Walker's going to be the lead back out of the two, but it wouldn't shock me at all if it was a 60-40 split. We saw Charbonnet get 40% of the carries, and as I say, in a run-heavy offense, a team that loves to run the ball, establish the run early, I think Charbonnet's still got some potential value. And as I've mentioned, if anything were to happen to Kenneth Walker, you've got the starting running back for the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, that's a prized possession in fantasy, and what he could offer if anything were to happen to Kenneth Walker, you've got a potential league winner. So I still think at the 111, I'm willing to back the talent and not just fade him because of the landing spot. And take Zach Charbonnet here.
Yeah, I mean, do you know who else is the second round running back who was drafted to play for the Seattle Seahawks? Kenneth Walker. Yeah. Like, they're both drafted in the same round, and you could bet your ass Pete Carroll doesn't care about your fantasy team. So I can see that, being Zach Charbonnet. You didn't pick him in the second round for no reason. Right?
Yeah. Well, we've seen it before, haven't we, with a Rashard Penny and Chris Carson when those two were together. Penny went in the first round. Chris Carson, what was he, like a fifth round pick? Mm-hmm. And that didn't. Pete Carroll wasn't bothered about what the draft capital was. He just loves running the ball. He'll give it to the hot hand. So I think there's a real shot for Charbonnet to be able to do something early. And as I say, I'm willing to back the talent. I don't think he's the talent of Kenneth Walker. If I'm picking the two, I'd pick Kenneth Walker out of the two. But I mean, the fact that you can get Zach Charbonnet, I've seen people say they wouldn't touch him till like the late second, and for me that's far too late. I think the draft capital, the potential that he's got in that offense. Yeah, I'm happy to take him here at this spot.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Hey, what do you think the odds of that Pete Carroll knows what sleeper is?
Well, I mean, I hear a lot of these football players say that they're not into fantasy, but I wouldn't be so surprised if some of them were into a bit of fantasy football.
Yeah, I think so, maybe. We got 2 picks after the first round. Then who's coming in at 111?
Yeah, so certainly because it's Superflex, it's in my thought right now.
Yep.
But I'm going to go back to the running back pool, go for a really small guy, but a really fast guy in Devin Achane is going to be my pick here. He's my running back 3. There is a massive teardrop from Jahmyr Gibbs, but it was before the draft. It was like, right, which of these running backs are going to land in Miami and that potential offense? And Devin Achane, they obviously already have so much speed, but he's like a track guy that I think it's inevitable that he's going to take 2 or 3 really long runs to the house because of that scheme that they've got in Miami, that outside zone scheme that he's just going to find lanes and just burst through them. He's not going to be obviously an every down workhorse back. They've got the other two older running backs for that, but I think he's a guy that only really needs 40% of the snaps, 45, 50% of the snaps to be effective because of how consistent and that he's going to be when he touches the ball. So I think it's worth the pick here because I think if he does see a big spike, a big game, you're going to see a spike in value where you can move up him if you want. Or he's a guy that if he consistently shows it 3 or 4 games running, I think that he's going to move up people's boards in terms of their dynasty ranks. So I really like Achane in this position.
Yeah, I just can't wait to see him play. He's so exciting. Like I'm just real, and it's like that's like the like if it wasn't for Anthony Richardson going to the Colts, that would have been the best landing spot of the whole draft almost. Like it's just great. And a move I've been trying to make, I've successfully done it once because I've got a hell of a lot of DeAndre Swift shares. I'm trying to get Devin Achane plus for DeAndre Swift, and I quite like that. I don't know if you're like maybe not.
I love that. That would be the move that I'm making because Swift is a risky asset right now. I think there's a lot of people that are really high on Swift going to the Eagles, thinking that there's a lot of touchdown opportunities, but I think it's going to be in a committee. They've obviously not paid a lot of money for him. It's basically a 1-year rental. So I think that's the move to make because I think the ceiling for Achane is there.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's there at 111. And who's 111? A guy I'm not really high on is Quentin Johnston. However, enough people are kind of talking about how much they do like him. I'm not, ears closed all the time. I don't think that I know better than everybody else. So, of course, I'm willing to listen to the tons of people that believe in this guy. And I think I said it whenever you were on here. I might not believe in Quentin Johnston, but you better believe I believe in Justin Herbert. And that guy is talented. And Quentin Johnston is going to be helped so much. Going from catching passes from Max Duggan to Justin Herbert is like driving a Fiesta and then driving a Porsche. It's a completely different deal altogether. They might both be called a car, but they're really a completely different machine underneath everything. So I think while Johnson did drop a lot of passes, Justin Herbert is going to throw passes that cannot be dropped. So that's really going to help Johnson. I do have trepidation about the lack of good coaching that appears to be happening over at the Chargers. That might not be the best thing for him, but you're getting a guy that this time next year could be Justin Herbert's main weapon. Hell yeah. Like, I'll take that risk at 111.
Yeah, love that pick. Love that pick. I'm a bit higher on Johnson than others. I'd have taken him before Kincaid there, to be honest. But I love that pick. I love where the value that you've got there. If you could get Johnson at the back end of the first. So with that'll bring us to the last pick of round 1, and where you're going to finish off round 1. Which way we're going to go?
Was he the guy you would have traded? Was he the guy you would have traded?
Yes,
up for?
Yeah, he would have been the guy that I'd have moved up for. I think he's a great player.